Hi, I'm Kesenya, and thank you so much for joining me for this series looking at Jupiter's transits through each house of the horoscope. It is lovely to have you with me. I especially want to welcome all the people who are viewing this who are new to astrology. I hope this video helps you learn more and understand more about how astrology operates and the effects of astrology in your life. And also welcome back to those of us who are a little bit more seasoned in our knowledge of astrology. It's a pleasure to have you here as well. Hopefully, if you are more seasoned in astrology, you'll be able to help out those who leave comments in the comments section looking for answers and asking questions. So thank you for helping and supporting me in that endeavor, and to help make this a beautiful community where we can communicate and uplift one another on our journey to know more about astrology. So we're going to be looking at Jupiter transiting through the houses. But first, let's look at a little bit about Jupiter itself as a planet. There's so much to know about Jupiter. What a fantastic planet, and it's such a joy and a thrill and a delight to be talking about Jupiter, stepping into Jupiter energy, because he is known as, in astrology, the great benefic, bringing benefit, bringing expansion, bringing growth, bringing abundance into our lives wherever he sits in the chart, in the natal chart. But as I said, in this instance, we're looking at transits and the benevolence that he brings, where that's going to be felt and experienced more according to transits. But let's start by looking at Jupiter. Well, Jupiter is a magnetizer. If you think about Jupiter out there in the actual outer space, Jupiter energy draws things in. It's got this massive magnetous field for a start, and it also it attracts objects around it into its gravitational pull. So it's this massive planet, and it is quite literally a magnetizer, draws things to it out there in space, and the same energy is represented by Jupiter in astrology as well. So when it transits a house or a sign, and we're using whole sign astrology with this, where each sign represents a house, it will draw things to it of the nature of that sign or that house. It will magnetize those things, pull those things in, and make them manifest more in the life of the individual. And the life of the collective as well, I might add too. As I said, Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system, and it is therefore very effectual. Jupiter very nearly became a second sun in the formation of our solar system millions of years ago, and would have entered into therefore a binary system with our actual sun, or maybe one of them might have gobbled the other up, who knows, but Jupiter didn't quite get there. It didn't quite have the oomph that it took. But nonetheless, Jupiter is massive, and he functions very much in the nature of a benevolent sun in our chart, bringing confidence and bringing illumination to things. And because of his mass, his energy, his energetic output, as I said, he has this monstrous magnetosphere that reaches out into the zone of Saturn, actually. It crosses into Saturn's orbit. And because of this influence of Jupiter that is so expansive, quite literally in the skies and figuratively in astrology as well, the effects of Jupiter are far-reaching and very, very influential. Jupiter is expansive in astrology, as goes with the idea and the nature of as above, so below, and him being the biggest planet, the most expansive planet, his energy in our lives is very expansive as well. In fact, he is so big that you could fit 1,300 Earth-size balls inside of Jupiter. 1,300. It's a phenomenal thought, difficult to get our head around, really. Not only that, you could actually fit every single other planet in the solar system into Jupiter all at once. Go figure, he's enormous. So he brings expansion with his transits and with his natal placement as well. He brings abundance as well. He brings enthusiasm. He brings opportunities. He brings, as I said before, confidence. He brings also a sense of morality to an area of our life, wherever he's transiting. He brings a need for ethics to wherever he's transiting. And he brings a sense of adventure and, what could I experience now? What can this do for me? How can I utilize this? What can I learn about this? He brings that energy to the area of the chart that he's transiting as well. Jupiter rules being charitable, generosity, giving, and he will bring this character of benevolence into whatever area of your chart that he happens to be transiting. You will feel more benevolent, more charitable and feel like giving to that area of your life in greater capacity. Jupiter is also very forward-looking. And so his transit to a certain area of our house will give us more of a forward-looking approach to the themes of that house. He allows us, he's actually a planet that connects to prophecy, and he allows us to gain a glimpse of the potential, of the future possibilities of a house. He gives us the chance to extend and expand beyond our current limits in a certain area or realm of life that is connected to the house in which he's transiting. One of my favorite mantras that I use frequently is I expand to meet my destiny. This is my mantra when I practice yoga and do all sorts of other things in life, and I remind myself I can expand and become big enough to embrace the destiny that the universe has for me, the highest vibrational good that is represented in my chart. So if you're feeling limited or blocked in a certain area, certain realm of life, just wait till Jupiter gets to that section of your chart and watch the blossoming occur. Watch yourself expand beyond the limits you perceived that were around you. The blockages, the restrictions in a certain area can be absolutely sort of pushed out. The boundaries are expanded for you to experience more blessing, more abundance, more prosperity in a certain area. How this works is that Jupiter has a connection to our visioning processes, our dreaming. Like Jupiter in ancient astrology rules the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is all about our dreams and daydreams, night dreams, all that sort of thing. So Jupiter has a connection to the governance of our visioning, of our dreams, of our imagination, and our intuition. So it's our intuition and our imaginative visioning processes when we sit on the couch on a nice spring afternoon with a cup of, Earl Grey tea, and we're looking out the window dreaming about what we'd like our life to look like, who we want to be, how we'd really like it to work out for us. That begins the process of expansion. Because it's in those processes of trusting our intuition and tapping into our imagination and our visioning, processes that we begin a shift of energy within us. And that's when the old Hermetic principle of as within, so without starts to work for us. When we change our inner being, then we start to see external circumstances change to reflect that shift in energy within us. And Jupiter does his work on that inner level. He is also an externally manifesting planet, but he begins by working on this inner level, creating a higher vibration for us through allowing us to feel more abundance, more joy, more optimism, more joviality. The word jovial comes from the word Jupiter, actually. And it's through this inner change in our levels of optimism and abundance consciousness that then we begin to see the manifestation happen in reality. And we start to see our outer circumstances change. And Jupiter begins that process when he transits a house, by lifting our vibrational level in our inner world to be able to receive on the outer world. Now, Jupiter is named after the ancient Roman god, king of the gods actually, in mythology. And there's an association with Thor in Norse mythology. There's an association with Zeus in Greek mythology. And there's an association with Marduk in the ancient Babylonian mythology as well. So that he has links to all those energies of being the supreme god or governor over all, or the one top authority, top dog, so to speak. And because of that, he actually rules in astrology lawmakers, judges, legal systems, higher levels of knowledge, places of learning that are of that higher level, universities and colleges. He also governs things like religion and belief systems, long distance travels, not just short little trips, but the big, we're talking Jupiter, his big travels overseas or to other, countries that are far away. He governs other cultural practices and other cultural beliefs. Like Jupiter represents other cultures in general. And he also is a representation of higher knowledge from the divine realms. And it's this that makes him the Lord of Intuition, the angel on our shoulder giving us wisdom and guidance in our journey. The Guru, as he's known, In Vedic astrology, Jupiter is referred to as guru, and there's a very good reason for that, because he gives this wisdom, he gives this knowledge. He is the wise, angel on our shoulder. Now, this is a spring series that I am preparing. It's spring in Australia when I'm launching this series. If you're watching it at different times of the year, it'll be a different season, obviously. But in Australia, it is spring at the moment, which I thought was a perfect time to be doing a series on Jupiter and his transits, because spring is about growth. Spring is about the expansion, the blossoming, and very much the abundant nature of Jupiter represented in spring. But Jupiter actually rules the colors purple and orange. And as you can see, I'm wearing a purple cardigan with my spring attire here, and there's purple flowers all over my dress. Also, if you look behind me, I've decorated part of my house with a lot of purple and orange. There's an orange door there and a purple painting and so on, because I really want to channel the energy of Jupiter in my home. I myself am a very highly Jupiterian person, and so I really want to bring that energy in, and Jupiter governs these things. Jupiter rules the crystals lapis lazuli and malachite, according to the research that I have done. There's some varying opinions around that, but this is malachite. I don't have any lapis lazuli on me at the moment, but I will be getting more. Lapis lazuli was often used, and possibly malachite as well, in ancient Egyptian jewelry and tomb decorations, and so it was attributed to the pharaohs, or not attributed to the pharaohs, but it had connections to this leadership element in ancient Egypt. It was only the wealthy, only the prosperous, only the pharaohs and their families that were able to enjoy the luxuries of lapis lazuli and malachite. And of course, Jupiter has these associations with abundance and with wealth and with the lawgivers and leaders. Jupiter's day is Thursday. Now, those of you who are familiar with how the days of the week got their names will know that it comes from the Norse Thor's day. And we've already said Jupiter has an affiliation with Thor. Jupiter's day that he rules of the week is Thursday, Thor's day. Now, because of all these wonderful things that Jupiter governs, and we're going to talk about a few more of those in just a minute, but because he rules abundance, because he rules wealth, because he rules a certain type of leadership, that inspirational figure, that lawmaker, that religious leader, that spiritual leader, that divinely inspired leader, because Jupiter rules these things, wherever Jupiter sits in your chart is where you're going to be able to channel and receive more abundance, more wealth, more opportunity, more good fortune, more prosperity. All these things that Jupiter rules will come into the house where your Jupiter sits in the natal chart. But that's a series for another day when we look at Jupiter through the houses in the natal chart. We're looking at transiting Jupiter in this series. So a bit more about the things that Jupiter rules. Let me read this list to you. He rules children, he rules wealth, he rules belief systems, he rules the blood, he rules the veins, he also rules the hips, and the ability to move forward in life is obviously connected to our ability to utilize our hips. So Jupiter also governs our capacity and our ability to move forward in life as well. Jupiter rules everything from sort of accommodation of a very high level, or public buildings of a very high level, universities, but things like castles, cathedrals, casinos are all ruled by Jupiter. And not that casinos are of a high level, but there is the element of luck and wealth and prosperity that's sort of associated with casinos that gives Jupiter the rulership of casinos. But the belief systems around cathedrals and ashrams and the buildings that govern our belief systems, or that connect with our belief systems, Jupiter rules those, as well as the high level places where we reside, castles and estates and things like that of a very high nature, high caliber. He rules etiquette, he rules manners. In a woman's chart, Jupiter rules husbands, and generally he rules beautiful things like joy and happiness. If we want to know where we can feel the most joy and happiness in life, look to where your Jupiter sits in your natal chart or where Jupiter's transiting. You know you'll be able to generate more joy in that area, more happiness. Jupiter rules devotion, being devoted to something or someone. At a perhaps not so pleasant level, Jupiter rules obesity. He is, after all, the largest planet in the solar system. He's big. And if you have Jupiter placed in the first house, he can usually, in the natal chart, he can make you taller than average, but you've got to watch your weight in later age because you can tend to spread out and become very Jupiter-like in the way you look, very round in the middle. In fact, Jupiter as a planet bulges in the middle due to his rotation speed and gravitational pull and all that sort of thing that affects the shape of Jupiter, and he bulges out in the middle. So when we have Jupiter in the first house, we do have to be very careful of bulging out in the middle at some point in life. Hence, I have to watch what I eat. So Jupiter rules beautiful things as well, like benevolence, philanthropy, get my words out, and prayer. So these are glorious things that Jupiter rules. And these are only a few of the areas of life that you might notice Jupiter influencing through his transits or through your natal chart placement as well. There's just masses of things, as is befitting to the nature of a very big planet. There's a very big list of things that Jupiter governs in our lives, but there's just a few. Now, Jupiter is at his most powerful in fire and water signs. So when he's in the earth signs or the air signs, it's not that he doesn't bring, beneficial results. He's just a little bit lackluster. He doesn't have the oomph. He doesn't have the, ta-da kind of capacity that he would in water or fire signs. He's just a little bit ta-da, the energy is not quite the same, not quite as full. He is especially strong in Sagittarius, which he rules, Pisces, which is the other sign that he rules in traditional astrology, ancient astrology, and he is especially strong where he is exalted in the sign of Cancer. So if you are experiencing a transit of Jupiter to Pisces, Sagittarius, or Cancer at some time in life, then you're going to experience more of his benevolence in a very ta-da kind of way because of the strength of Jupiter in these signs. Jupiter has a natural affiliation with the ninth house, the most the most lucky house in astrology, the most blessed house in astrology, the ninth house, and Jupiter has a natural affiliation to that house. He also has a natural affiliation to the 12th house, which is, interestingly enough, one of the malefic houses in Vedic astrology. But Jupiter has an affiliation to that because of his governance of the sign Pisces, which has all this 12th house energy. So Jupiter is very comfortable when he's in the 12th house or the 9th house. But Jupiter is actually has his strongest directional strength and greatest effect in either the first house, particularly the first house. That's where Jupiter has his greatest directional strength or gives the strongest influence for good. But there is also a strong influence of Jupiter when he's in the 10th house. This is where Jupiter does his best work, in the first house or the 10th house. So if you're experiencing that by transit as well, you're going to experience a lot more of the blessing, especially if you happen to have Sagittarius, Pisces, or Cancer as your first or 10th house and Jupiter's transiting there. Hang on to your hats, it's going to be fun. Now, wherever Jupiter is transiting is where you can actually contribute most to society. And this is because Jupiter is charitable, Jupiter is generous, Jupiter is a philanthropist, Jupiter is a benefic, he brings benefit. So you yourself can be these energies or give these energies to the world and your role on the planet. So, Jupiter might be transiting, for example, the 5th house. So you can give your benefit, your charity, your philanthropy to children, because that is where the energy is of benevolence and generosity is being directed by transit. Also consider that in your natal placement of Jupiter as well, where you can be the most generous and give, in a very benevolent, philanthropic way, wherever Jupiter sits in your natal chart also. So without further ado, let's go in now and have a look at where Jupiter is transiting and how it might affect you. So how do we go about finding Jupiter in the 6th house? Well, first of all, you need to know where Jupiter is currently transiting. Jupiter changes signs roughly once a year. So check out a website like planetwatcher.com or go to astro.com and look at the chart of the moment. That will tell you whereabouts Jupiter currently is. Now, as I'm recording this video, Jupiter is currently in the sign of Capricorn. So how do we work out if this is our 6th house or not, where Jupiter is currently transiting? One of the ways that we can do this in whole sign astrology is to count backwards from the place where Jupiter is transiting 6 signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gives us Leo rising. So for anyone in when this video launches who is Leo rising, they have been going through a 6th house transit of Jupiter. Of course, in 2 years' time, when Jupiter is transiting through Pisces, then we're going to have to count 6 houses backwards from Pisces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will give us Libra rising, and that will be the rising sign that's experiencing a 6th house transit of Jupiter at the time Jupiter's transiting Pisces. So I hope you're getting an idea of how to work out whether this is applicable to you, whether it's going through this house for you in whole sign astrology. But at this time, when this video launches, it will be anyone who is Leo rising who will be experiencing this energy. And of course, next year in 2021, when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, it's going to be Virgo people who will be experiencing a 6th house transit of Jupiter. What does this bring? Well, the 6th house is a very interesting house in astrology. In modern astrology, it rules some really rather nice things like our work, our daily routines, how we pay the bills, our diet, our health, our exercise routine. It rules pets, rules our work, like I said, how we pay the bills, and it also rules our service, how we serve in the world and how we help, how we fix things in the world. In ancient astrology, this was one of the malefic houses. In fact, it was probably the most difficult malefic house. And it represented things that were of a victim nature. You know, it represented conflict, bullies, divorce. It represented being abused, being a slave, being sick, being poor, being diseased and unhealthy. It represented all these lower vibrational things that we don't want in our life, obviously. There's a higher vibrational energy to the 6th house as well, and that is the energy of the healer. And we see that often played out by people who are things like doctors, nurses, builders, plumbers, anyone who's in a role of service, charity workers and so on. People who are serving are seen through the 6th house, and we can serve obviously and be a healer without having to actually do it as our day job as well. You know, simply helping a neighbor or being kind and thoughtful to other people is and through some act of service is in a practical way is a 6th house thing. But when Jupiter's transiting here, what does this mean we're going to get? Well, it's a time when we're actually going to thrive on work. We'll get a buzz out of it. We'll get some joy out of our work life. And wouldn't that be nice, you know? I mean, I love my work, I really do. But I remember when I used to work for other people, which is seen by the 6th house a lot of the time, it was a struggle to find daily delight in what I was doing. Thank goodness things have changed. But it's also a house of self-improvement and perfection of the self. And so this is going to give us a lot of joy to look at how can I perfect the self? How can I improve myself? You might be doing a lot of self-help courses at this time or reading a lot of self-help books that expand your knowledge of who you are and how you can live a better life and how you can be fitter and healthier and how you can think more positively and uplifting that sort of self-help perfection of the self aspect of who we are. So it's a big season of personal growth when Jupiter transits the 6th house because we're going to learn a lot about who we are. Jupiter is to learn and expand the mind. We're going to learn a lot about ourselves and our place in the world. We're going to have a big focus on the development of new routines and the development of new methods for living. So you might get a new exercise routine. You might have establish yourself a new diet. Might sort of make up a daily routine or a daily list that you tick off of, I want to accomplish this, and this today, and every day you sort of aim to get through that list. And I'm a terrible one for lists, but yeah, Jupiter in the 6th house can give that emphasis to making things work, making your methods really work for you and empowering you in your daily life. One good thing if you are an employee is that you are likely under this influence for a whole year to receive less criticism at work. Yay, bonus, everybody wants that. And coupled with that, more success at work, more recognition, more opportunities for a pay rise, more benevolence from your employer under this energy. So fantastic. Any kind of job that you have to do that's a bit tedious, you'll actually cope very well with. You've got to clean the house. That's just a job that needs doing. Yawn. Usually, try and avoid it at all costs. Under this energy, you'll be like, yeah, bring it on. I'll just get this done and then I can go play and have a good time, It won't bother you to do the tedious, mundane things of life. You'll be totally into it. Probably, won't even bat an eye at having to clean the toilet. Any projects that you undertake or get involved in this year, they're going to be quite stress-free. They're going to bring you a lot of pleasure. You'll enjoy them more. Any sort of co-workers, if you've got employees or people in the workplace, you're going to get along with great. You might even have more social opportunities under this energy. Go out for a drink after work, and you might even, enjoy sitting around having a chat with your colleagues at morning tea time, and it just feels pleasurable instead of having to sort of bury your head in the computer and just get on with things. So under that energy, that can be very, very beneficial too. Lots of pleasure and joy in the workplace. Now, I love to remember the old Hermetic principle of as within, so without when we're looking at a Jupiter transit, because how you feel inside is going to alter your external circumstances. And if you're feeling more positive at work, if you're enjoying it more, if it's bringing you more happiness to be at work and your menial tasks don't faze you at all, then under this energy, those external circumstances are actually going to be more prosperous, more successful, and more abundant for you because your energy shifts in the first place. Yay! Your efficiency can really increase under this energy, and your ability to specialize and to have sort of a honed capacity, because the sixth house is about our detailed work. Detailed, like intense focus, not about broad picture, it's about intense. And so it's the house of the specialist for people who want to specialize. And Jupiter here gives great abilities to do that. If you're looking for a new job and you're having Jupiter transit the sixth house, awesome. It's a great year to find a new job that you feel more comfortable in, that you feel suits you, that you feel you can really expand into, as is the nature of Jupiter. So if you've been thinking for a while, I need a new job, look this year under this transit and you will probably find one, unless there are really difficult aspects playing out in your natal chart. But usually under this influence of Jupiter in the sixth house, it's very opportunistic for you to get a new job. It's a great aspect, a great transit to have if you want to help heal your body in some way, restore your body in some way, increase your health, increase your vitality, and focus on your well-being. You're going to be very well supported by the energy of the universe to do that. And as I said, it's a wonderful year for fitness and diet, maybe establishing a new routine. But if you do establish a new routine in those realms, you're going to enjoy it. It's not going to feel like drudgery. It's going to be pleasurable. And so it's a really good chance under this energy to make some, what we would usually term New Year's resolutions about fitness and health. If you decide I'm going to start jogging 3Ks a day and I'll build up to, bigger as time goes on, then they say it takes 21 days to establish a habit. Well, under this energy, establishing a habit is going to be so much easier. Before you know it, you'll be jogging 10Ks a day, because this makes doing those fitness regimes and eating properly and so forth much easier to accomplish, so you can stretch it out for those 21 days and do your new routine for 21 days. And by then it's solidified as a habit within you that can actually really help you on the long-term journey for your life. So make the most of that energy and look at how you can improve your everyday routines and your everyday life and bring benefit to that realm of your life. One warning though, because this is the house of our diet and what we eat, Jupiter here can put on weight, because Jupiter has no boundaries. Jupiter, if you think about his actual manifestation in the sky, he's the biggest planet, and he's going to make your diet larger than life, perhaps. More opportunity for those sweet foods, all that caffeine, all that good stuff that you like, all that chocolate. Jupiter in the sixth house might bring too much pleasure and joy to your palate, and the actual planet Jupiter in the sky bulges at the middle due to his fast spin and his gravitational pull and his weight. He bulges out of the middle. He's not exactly round, and so we've got to be careful of the other Hermetic principle, as above, so below. When Jupiter is in the sixth house, we can tend to put on a bit of weight and start bulging out the middle, so be careful. We can feel like we're invincible with our diet. Jupiter gives these feelings of, I can do anything. I'm bigger than, larger than life, and bring it on because I can do it. Yeah, your diet may show the consequences of that kind of invincibility thinking that mightn't be too much in your favor. So be careful. But Jupiter is reflective, Jupiter is philosophical, and you'll be in that state of mind about your everyday ordinary life. You'll be able to sort of philosophize about very mundane, ordinary things. And that will bring an interesting perspective, because Jupiter is big thinking and expansive mind gone into the house of small detail and specialization. Quite contradictory actually, but it can serve to be very beneficial for you, because the way you think about detailed and mundane things like your daily habits and your daily life and cleaning the house and whatever, the way you think about those things will be from a more philosophical and expanded viewpoint that can add a different perspective to life that makes those things more enjoyable, which we've already talked about. This house, the sixth house, does have connections to what you wear, and you might renew your wardrobe under this influence. You might go and update it or do a lot of spring cleaning and get rid of the things you don't want and make space for new stuff to come in. So you could have a lot of fun with that one, renewing your wardrobe. But it's really great also for service to others, because the sixth house is where we serve. And this is the highest, most aspirational level of the sixth house. This is the energy of the healer that goes along with this beautiful priestess energy, which is the archetype of the sixth house. So you will be probably very enthusiastic and very positive about serving other people, looking for opportunities. How can I serve? How can I help? How can I heal? And in that sense, there's a lot of personal development that goes along with that as well, because when we help others, we actually do ourselves a great service. Firstly, we burn our karma by serving other people. Secondly, we allow our perspective to expand by putting ourselves into someone else's shoes and understanding what they're going through and seeking, to help them through whatever circumstance they may be in. In shamanic astrology, this is the archetype, as I mentioned a moment ago, of the priestess, somebody who is giving their sacred service to the world. And that sacred work, that sacred service, it could be working in a hospital as a nurse, but maybe your sacred work is actually something like doing some tremendous paintings. Maybe like Vincent van Gogh, his sacred work was to produce those amazing pictures, Starry, Starry Night and the sunflowers and what have you. That was his sacred work. So this energy is to do work that for us is of the sacred, according to shamanic astrology. It's our sacred work. Now, in the Hindu system, the sixth house rules things like enemies. It rules competitors. It rules conflict. The sixth house is the most malefic house, and it has to do with victims and challenging situations like poverty, illness, disease, and lack. Sixth house energy is very difficult, but in the Hindu system, it is also connected to healers as well, people who can heal and resolve difficult situations. So Jupiter here might indicate in the Vedic system or the Hindu system that your enemies might suddenly disappear. No more enemies. You're going through a court case, it's headache, and Jupiter moves into your sixth house. 2 weeks later, the court case is all done. And it's all like finalized out of court, it's resolved, boom, all over. Fantastic, no more enemies, all over Red Rover. Competitiveness can dry up too under this energy. It's a house of being in competition with others, which isn't very nice, I've got to say. Competitiveness can end under this influence, and you might, instead of competing with your colleague at work, you might suddenly be working together on something and find that you really get along and you're great buddies, and hey, what was this all about? This competitiveness. Let's just enjoy life, That can conclude under Jupiter's transit through the sixth house as well. So basically the negative aspects that we see, the negative components of the sixth house in the Hindu system can start to be alleviated, can start to vanish, can start to sort of lessen under Jupiter's benevolent influence there for a whole year. Now, at the same time, Jupiter will be aspecting the 10th house, the 2nd house, and also the 12th house. Now, Jupiter's aspects are always beneficial. That's just the way Hindu astrology works. If this was Saturn, any Saturn aspects would be considered to be negative in their energy, because in Hindu astrology, it is the nature of the planet that governs the quality of the aspect, not the aspect itself, which is very different to Western astrology. But in this case, the aspect that is being made, let's start with the 2nd house. The aspect from Jupiter to the 2nd house indicates more opportunity for 2nd house things to manifest in your life. More wealth, more abundance, more prosperity, more things that support your journey through life, you know, the good things, the shoes in the cupboard or the food in the pantry and so on. All those nice things can increase and expand, more resources for living, more money coming your way. The aspect that Jupiter makes to the 10th house indicates it's a great year for personal success in your career field, in what you do to sort of be remembered by the world. Great year for your social status and a great year for notoriety and, as I said, career expansion. Plus, the aspect to the 12th house gives you more freedom from any unexpected debts. It's a year when it's very unlikely that you will cop a bill out of nowhere that's going to leave you, bankrupt or something like that. It's more of a year where you're free from unexpected debts, unexpected expenses, and you will really grow on your spiritual path, because the 12th house is a spiritual house in the Vedic system. It's a time when your awareness of spirituality can really increase. Plus, this is a house of travel to remote areas, to foreign countries and very, very sort of far-flung reaches. And so there might be opportunities to travel to those places, or at least in some sense to immerse yourself in those kinds of things this year. So maybe you can't, because it's COVID-19 and you can't fly anywhere, so you can't, go and do that big tour through Chile that you were planning on doing. But instead, you get a chance to immerse yourself in sort of lectures or online documentaries on the Andes or something like that in place of being able to go there. But certainly an influence on foreign cultures, far-flung places and things that are very, the best word is foreign, to your ordinary experience might actually be more accessible to you under this influence. So that's what we see when Jupiter transits through the 6th house. Make sure you check out all the other videos on Jupiter and its transits through the houses to know exactly what's coming up for you year by year.